the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Will, I think you, specifically you, Will Warren, is responsible for Clemson being good this year. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, I finally have forced Brad Brownell off the hot seat for like the first time in 10 years, because that man lives on it.
Yes.
He loves to be just good enough to not get fired, but just not good enough to be comfortable. That's the status that nobody ever wants to be in is like his comfort zone.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they're good. They're some people are like saying they're a top 10 team. I don't agree. Their resume's top 10, sure. I mean, they've had a really great non-conference slate. I mean, when your only loss is a 2-point loss to a Memphis team that pretty much everyone agrees is like one of the 20 or so best teams, not a bad non-conference run for you whatsoever. The surprise, I think we all knew PJ Hall would be good. He looks like a legitimate first-team All-American. Definitely says something that his closest stats comparison per Torvik is Player of the Year edition Luka Garza. So, I mean, he's having quite the year. But I thought their defense would be terrible because it was last year, and they returned most of the same pieces. And generally, when you do that, like the defense doesn't really take a big leap. It just, you are what you are. You might be more efficient on offense, and they've been about the same. But the defense has really leveled up. Rim protection has been awesome. Hall has really stepped it up on the defensive end. And he's still got some fouling issues. He commits almost 5 per 40 minutes, which isn't great. But he's done a really good job of just staying on the court in general this year. If he can stay out of foul trouble a little bit more, this is going to be a dangerous team in March. I can't shake the feeling that they're going to play, because I think, you know, like barring an implosion, they're going to be a 4 seed at worst, just because they build up such a good resume, and the ACC is not very good. That like if they go 14-6 or better, they're going to be a 4 seed at worst. They're going to have a good resume, but it's hard for me to shake the thought of like them playing a 5 seed, Hall getting 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes, and then what do you do? Because they're not a bad team when he's off the court, but they're clearly not the same. It's not as good of a group. Joe Girard has really held up strong. Ian Shefflin, who is the backup center and also power forward, has done quite well, especially in the boards. He is a monster rebounder. But it really does revolve around Hall for me. So they're going to go as far as he can go, which is to say, I like them as a top 25 team. I don't know that I like them as like a dark horse Final Four contender like I've been seeing, unless it is a deal where Hall is like not going to get in foul trouble and is going to play 35 plus minutes in every NCAA tournament game.
Would this be, so when was the last, like, what's the history here? If they finish the top 4 seed, like what's the most recent comp to any Clemson team for in the past to where they are right now?
Well, they made the Sweet 16 in 2018.
But they weren't a 4. What seed were they?
They were a 5. So
Okay.
that team was about equivalent to this. They were worse on offense, but better on defense. But really the closest comparison to this one, you got to go back to when Rick Barnes was the head coach in the late 90s. Very good offense, questionable but workable defense built around a couple of key stars. Those teams, 3, 4, 5, 6 seeds, that's kind of their range for me. I wouldn't be surprised if they take not a nosedive, but maybe a hair, like a small step back where they don't win as many close games. They, they do have like some tough games in the ACC. You still got to go at Duke, at UNC. And then there's some other tricky pieces like, at Virginia Tech's not an easy task. At Wake isn't easy. Even at Syracuse is not going to be a walkover. So they're going to lose a few games here and there. But again, when you've built up the resume they have, where you've got, wins over Alabama on the road, Pitt on the road, I guess Pitt's a conference opponent, whatever. But, TCU at a neutral. You only lost by 2 at Memphis. That's not a bad result whatsoever. They're really going to have to blow it to not get a 4 seed. So I like what they've done a lot, and it's a good story too. It's just nice to have somebody other than Duke, UNC, or Virginia, or I guess Miami, get some headlines in the ACC.
Absolutely. Bad headlines though in the ACC. Will Warren, the Kenny Payne era in Louisville, where it was great to be online last week. Rare time to be online during Player X watch, being whether or not he was forced into the portal, whether or not he was attending the game as a fan, where he was going to be a certain player, and then just real insane stuff that you would never guess or never suspect to see in a Power 5, Power 6 type environment. And it's a mess. Louisville, still quite bad.
Well, and so I do have a media complaint here, actually. So we've
Go. Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.